The film begins by introducing Engin, a polyamorous businessman, gazing profoundly out the window, adorned with cool tattoos. Meanwhile, at 3 in the morning, Belen is also looking out the window, deeply contemplating the scene outside. In the subsequent scene, we are introduced to Belen, a charming young woman employed in a wedding planning business alongside her friend Marvi. Marvi, harboring a strong desire to tie the knot, can't help but feel envious of her cousin, who frequently shares pictures from various weddings. Fueled by her aspiration, Marvi requests Belen to capture photos of her appearing to revel in a boat trip. As Belen begins taking photos, Marvi stumbles into a fellow passenger, causing a flower to cascade onto Marvi's hands. Convinced that this incident is a sign of her destined marriage, Marvi clings tightly to the flowers. Eventually, Belen gently retrieves the flowers from Marvi's grasp, returning them to the gentleman they belong to, before the two friends resume their indie photography session. Despite Marvi's obsession with weddings, Belen, in contrast, lacks interest in love or marriage. She firmly believes that they are both too engrossed in their work, leaving little time for personal lives. Returning to Engin, he is on a journey with his friend Sihan. As they travel, there's a girl in Engin's home preparing to leave, setting the scene for the day. During their luxurious car ride, Sihan inquires about a misunderstanding between Engin and his lover, Etta. Etta has been persistently calling Engin, but he has chosen not to respond. Engin discloses his desire to remain single, expressing reluctance to discuss the state of his relationship with Etta. While Etta may desire marriage, Engin is not willing to commit to that path. Meanwhile, Marvi and Belen find themselves on the same bus, traveling the same route as Sihan and Engin. The journey encounters obstacles, including blocked pathways and traffic caused by an ambulance attending to a fainting individual. As the bus resumes its journey, Belen engages in some theatrical gestures, prompting Marvi to follow suit. Engin and Sihan stroll through the neighborhood, visiting houses to persuade residents to relocate due to impending gentrification. However, the inhabitants defiantly dismiss them, defiantly expressing their determination to stay put. Undeterred, Engin and Sihan gracefully withdraw from the confrontations and resume their discussion. During their conversation, Sihan advises Engin to abandon thoughts of marriage, citing the fact that all their friends are already married. On their way to work, Belen and Marvi continue their discussion on marriage, with Marvi revealing her romantic disillusionment. Despite the ongoing gossip, they maintain a lighthearted banter about the topic. Arriving late to work, Belen and Marvi face the manager's rebuke, specifically for Belen's involvement in a client's wedding plans. The manager issues a stern warning, threatening to terminate Belen if she doesn't comply with the client's demands. Later that evening, Belen and Marvi coincidentally find themselves at the same restaurant where Engin is busy cooking alongside Sihan. Meanwhile, back at Engin's place, he is warmly welcomed by his assistant, who updates him on the series of appointments he needs to attend. As Engin prepares to leave, his girlfriend Etta calls once again, only for him to discover her unexpectedly seated on his couch. Engin is taken by surprise. While setting up the wedding venue, the conversation turns to the idea of going out for some fun and find mates. Subsequently, Marvi and Belen decide to spend the night at a bar. Engin, on the other hand, is dining with friends, but finds himself more engrossed in the art of cooking. Through Engin's culinary prowess, we discover his dream of owning a restaurant, where he can delight customers with his delicious recipes. The chef excitedly mentions finding a great location to make this dream a reality. Meanwhile, Marvi, driven by her quest to find a life partner, optimistically believes that she and Belen will encounter someone within 2 minutes. Their optimism wanes as the two men they approach turn out to be elderly. Despite the girls dropping hints that they are not interested, the persistent old men attempt to flirt. After 2 minutes, Marvi and Belen manage to escape, but the persistent seniors buy them drinks in an effort to continue the conversation. Unable to get away from the persistent elderly men, Marvi and Belen make a quick escape, finding themselves in the kitchen where they unexpectedly run into Engin and Sihan. In a curious twist of fate, the four of them are inexplicably drawn to each other, as if enchanted, all within the span of the past 2 minutes. The following morning, Belen and Engin awaken to find themselves in the same room, both startled and confused. Belen immediately raises her voice at Engin, and to their shock, they discover that they are wearing wedding rings. Engin struggles to remove the ring, questioning if they visited a jewelry shop recently. The situation triggers a shared what happened in Vegas moment for both of them. They are baffled, unable to recall how they ended up there, whose house it is, or why they are wearing wedding attire. When the doorbell rings, Engin opens the door while Belen hastily shuts it, only to find the caretaker on the other side. The caretaker is taken aback by Engin's inquiries about their identity, and the house owner. Belen screams upon discovering a photo of their wedding. Further confusion arises as they explore their phones, finding pictures from 2 years ago depicting them as a couple. Social media and photo galleries confirm their relationship. Belen calls her mother, who reveals they have been married for 2 years, adding a mysterious twist by suggesting it might be a dream and planning a surprise party. Engin and Belen, still bewildered, inspect every corner of their home, noticing peculiarities like Belen's expensive clothes and the framed leg cast belonging to Engin. What's stranger is the 241 timestamp. Attempting to piece together their memories, they argue about their marriage, with Belen warning Engin to keep his distance. The tension escalates as they mock each other, exacerbated by changes in Engin's wardrobe from his original 50 Shades of Grey of suits. As they prepare breakfast, they recollect the last memories they can grasp. Engin cautions Belen against dreaming of marrying someone like him, while Belen asserts her uniqueness and status as a dream come true. She suggests they stay apart for a while. Belen gets a call from her friend Marvi and asks for help in apologizing to the manager for being late on her way to work. Belen also discovers she has her own fancy car which is washed by a caretaker, leaving Engin perplexed with only a bicycle at his disposal. Belen rushes to work in a state of panic, realizing she's running late. When the manager arrives, expecting reproach, Belen is surprised to receive kindness. To her shock, she discovers that she is now the manager of the business, her desk replaced by another girl, and a sparkling new office awaiting her. Marvi discloses to Belen that Engin bought the business as a gift for her. Engin, unaware of the changes, goes to work as if it's a normal day. However, confusion ensues when his assistant informs him that he no longer works there. Despite attempts to reassure him, Engin persists in going to his supposed room, eventually realizing he no longer owns the business. Furious, Engin accuses Sihan of stealing the business, only to discover that Sihan bought it willingly. Further shock awaits him as he finds Etta, now wearing a wedding ring, married to Sihan. Sihan explains that Engin abandoned his plan to demolish houses, finding true love with Belen, and fulfilled Engin's dream of opening a restaurant. Engin visits the restaurant Sihan mentioned and meets the chef, Imre, who expresses surprise at Engin's condition and warns him about potential mental health consequences. Engin, participating in menu taste tests with Imre, brings his professional touch to the dishes, improving them. Imre's reminder of Belen helps Engin regain his senses. Meanwhile, Belen and Marvi engage in playful banter. Marvi, brimming with excitement, announces the news that a baby is on the way for Belen, playfully attributing Belen's confusion to morning sickness. Still bewildered by the day's events, Belen receives a call from Engin, who expresses his need to return to his old life and escape what feels like a surreal nightmare. Engin reflects on the drastic changes that occurred after encountering Belen in this dream. In response, Belen expresses gratitude to Engin for buying the company on her behalf, but Engin is resolute in ending the dream. Together, they decide to visit a relationship counselor to make sense of their situation. Despite their efforts to explain, the counselor interprets their words as metaphors. The couple argue, resembling a real married couple facing a rough patch. Undeterred, the counselor suggests delving into their memories and seeking insights from loved ones about their initial meeting. The couple is advised to rediscover their love by reliving the moments that brought them together in the first place. Belen mentions she has no memories of it, but the doctor suggests they create more romantic memories, such as through traveling. In an attempt to uncover clues about their past, Belen decides to read her personal diary. However, Engin remains skeptical of the counselor's advice, seeking a more concrete solution. Their discussion is interrupted when a car nearly runs over Engin, prompting Belen to pull him back. Later, at the cinema, Engin and Belen try to read through the diary to piece together the events documented within. According to the notebook, their first romantic encounter took place at the cinema, a memory they seemingly have lost. Belen becomes increasingly noisy, becoming a nuisance to other viewers, but Engin simply laughs it off. Their second encounter, as per the diary, happened at the beach, where they attempt to dance together to trigger memories. Despite their enjoyment, it proves unsuccessful, especially when two older men take offense, deeming it inappropriate public display of affection. The situation escalates as the men approach them, seeking to teach Belen a lesson due to her insults. In response, Belen and Engin push the men into the ocean. Belen becomes discouraged and feels like a failure, believing their efforts are a waste of time, while Engin remains confident in his memory of their special moments. They discover that the first time they got close was when Engin used to take Belen to her neighborhood, which they decide to visit. Engin comments that there's no progress without change, a sentiment he often expresses to justify demolishing neighborhoods. However, Belen is saddened to find that the neighborhood has changed completely, with modern housing replacing the small, old houses she remembers from her childhood. She sees this as destruction rather than development, as memories and dreams have been demolished. Engin admits that some of the new buildings belong to his company, and he was responsible for them. Angry and hurt, Belen demands a divorce. Engin pulls Belen away, their faces too close as he tries to convince her to return home with him. Upon returning home, they hear a faint sound and fear it's a robbery. Upon investigation, they discover it's not the case. To her surprise, their friends and family are waiting there to celebrate their wedding anniversary, a plan Engin had orchestrated a week earlier, despite having no memory of it. Imre reveals the soup that Engin had crafted using the recipe. When Belen inquires about Engin's parents, she discovers that Engin's father is no longer on speaking terms with him, and his mother has passed away. Engin is reticent about revealing the reasons behind the strained relationship with his father. Belen, in a surprising revelation, discloses that she is gaining weight, and questions when they will start a family. Their parents chime in, suggesting that time is passing quickly, indicating it's time for a baby. Despite his reluctance, Engin's parents insist on hearing the epic marriage proposal story. Apparently, Engin had written a poem, and they eagerly await a recitation. Belen encourages him, and after a hesitant drink, Engin begins reciting a poem, though it falls short of the expected romanticism. As they spend the night attempting to recollect their past through conversations with loved ones, success eludes them. The arrival of a new guest, Engin's father, marks a turning point. Through their conversation, Engin realizes that their relationship has returned to normal, and he feels happy to have his father back in his life. At the end of the party, Engin's father offers advice, urging him to keep Belen, emphasizing that she played a pivotal role in his positive transformation and saved his life after a challenging incident. Engin lies to his father about recent memory lapses and inquires about how Belen saved his life. His father discloses that Engin was in an accident, falling into a coma for several weeks. Throughout this period, Belen remained by his side, bringing his favorite food, and the aroma played a crucial role in awakening him from a deep sleep. Engin expresses the difficulty he faces in remembering these moments. Engin's father advises him to consult with a doctor, emphasizing the importance of not forgetting such significant moments with Belen. In the kitchen, Engin and Belen share a moment as they touch hands. Engin expresses gratitude to Belen, opening up about the recent events, including his estrangement from his father following his mother's illness and subsequent passing. Belen is taken aback when her stepfather offers Engin's mother's necklace as a wedding gift, acknowledging her role in making Engin a caring and responsible person. This unexpected moment also surprises Belen by seeing her father happy. Curious, Belen questions why Engin didn't communicate with his father earlier. Engin reveals that his mother succumbed to cancer, and he discovered the news too late, having just graduated and started working for a startup. Engin buried himself under work, leading to his detachment from his parents, even missing his mother's funeral, which caused his father to cut ties. That night, Belen reluctantly shares a bed with Engin, given that his father will be staying with them. She silently wishes that Engin had inherited his father's kind and gentle demeanor instead of his own grumpiness. Belen decides to lay the quilt on the floor, intending for Engin to sleep there. However, Engin resists, leading to a compromise, 3 cushions placed between them. Before settling in, Engin takes off his shirt, revealing his physique adorned with tattoos. He briefly leaves to change into a new shirt, and reminds Belen to change as well. Belen attempts to discreetly peek in the mirror while changing. As they finally retire for the night, the uneasy atmosphere persists, and they struggle to get a good night's sleep. The recurring theme of 2:41 resurfaces from the clock again. The next morning, Engin notices some changes in his appearance, realizing that he now has gray hair. Simultaneously, he observes alterations in Belen's appearance, such as her new bangs, and notices she is in considerable pain. To their astonishment, they both discover that Belen is pregnant, a seemingly impossible occurrence given that only one day has passed since their last encounter. This perplexing situation leads to Belen's anger directed at Engin, as she initially suspects him of some inappropriate action. However, Belen soon realizes the implausibility of becoming pregnant overnight, and they both come to the realization that time has once again shifted. They realize that time advances every 2 years. In an attempt to understand their current situation, the couple look through their photos and surprisingly find happiness in the pregnancy. However, Belen accuses Engin of being the cause of her unexpected condition. They descend to check and discover they have built a nursery. Both express their unpreparedness for parenthood. Amidst this, Belen experiences cravings. Seeking guidance, they visit a relationship counselor, who advises that overcoming their fears is key. The counselor suggests that a significant event, like the birth of their child, could dispel these fears. While leaving the doctor's clinic, Belen narrowly escapes being hit by a speeding car, a scene reminiscent of a prior incident. They discuss the possibility of waking up from the dream. Belen revisits the diary, contemplating traumatic events that could trigger their awakening. She settles on the idea of renewing their vows on the day of the proposal. Belen prepares coffee, but Engin doesn't seem to like it. Amid discussions about the timing of the birth with family members, Belen begins to feel pain. Soon after, her water breaks, and she goes into labor. Engin transports her to the hospital on a bicycle, and they arrive safely. Engin waits outside the delivery room while Belen quickly gives birth. As he affectionately brushes his hand on Belen's cheek, they welcome a baby girl into the world. They have an argument again about naming the baby. The nurse takes the baby away. Reflecting on their situation, Engin and Belen are thankful that they did not wake up from the dream. As they decide on a name, a new argument ensues. The nurse intervenes, advising Belen to rest, leaving Engin to bitterly exit the room. Later, they both awaken to find themselves back in their previous life. As they open their eyes, they still remember having a daughter. Quickly realizing that time is passing rapidly, they rush to Zeynep's room and are astonished to see her grown up with the name they had originally chosen, bringing immense joy. Zeynep affectionately calls Engin Dad and Belen Mom, leaving them amazed. When Zeynep requests a bunny doll that is missing, Engin goes to the toy shop to fulfill her wish. Despite the store owner offering a defective bunny stuffed toy, Engin accepts it. Concerned about the accelerated passage of time, Belen questions what they should do, as each sleep ages them rapidly. In response, Engin decides to cherish his time with Belen and Zeynep, embracing the opportunity to experience a genuine family life for the day. They continue to live each day with new events and experiences, growing old together and finding happiness. Returning home, Engin and Belen happily embrace their marriage and value their time with their daughter. As time progresses, Engin and Belen become increasingly affectionate toward each other. Before concluding the night, they share a dance in the living room, and later engage in intimacy. Engin confesses to Belen that he no longer wants to question if everything was just a dream, because he is genuinely happy with her. Belen, too, expresses gratitude for the best days of her life and their shared anticipation of the future. It's 2:41 again. However, the next morning, Engin wakes up surprised to find Belen missing from his side. Simultaneously, Belen wakes up at home with Marvi, realizing that everything was just one big dream. She shares with Marvi the story of falling in love with a young man in her dream, narrating all the events. Marvi feels both strange and happy about it. Despite Engin being happy that his life is back, they both sense that something is missing. Engin and Belen search for each other online, but Belen struggles to believe that it was all just a dream. Engin, on the other hand, convinces himself to move on. Finally, Engin regains his luxurious car, no longer relying on a bicycle. Marvi discovers Engin online and reads gossip articles about him being Istanbul's #1 playboy, leaving with 2 girls. Despite Marvi's disbelief, Belen confirms that she dreamt of it. Their lives return to normal, with Belen no longer in charge. The manager regains his position, but Belen decides to quit. Encouraged by Marvi, Belen hesitates to speak to the person she saw in her dream, fearing that Engin may think she is only after his money. However, Marvi convinces her to reach out, suggesting that fate may have intervened in their story. Engin has a realization that demolishing houses is no longer the right path. He shares his plans with his assistant, and confesses to Sihan that he has fallen in love with Belen. Revisiting places he went to with Belen in the dream, Engin sells his business to start living the life he had dreamed of. He also reconciles with his father, engaging in a heartfelt conversation. Engin regrets forgetting about his mother and burying himself in work. Engin's father, curious about the sudden change, learns that it's a woman who has influenced him. Engin reveals that they are actually married, and recounts the dream he had, emphasizing its realistic nature. Engin's father advises him not to let go of that woman, realizing the depth of Engin's feelings. When reminded by Eda about their appointment with a relationship counselor, Engin drops a bombshell on Eda, expressing his desire to break up and confessing his love for another girl from his dream. He urges Eda to seek happiness elsewhere, as he only felt true joy with the dream girl. Eda is heartbroken, struggling to believe that Engin would end their relationship over a dream. Both Belen and Engin pass by the house they shared in the dream. Engin goes to the location of his dream restaurant and decides to buy it. He also searches for the bunny doll that Zeynep has been looking for. Later, Belen revisits dream locations, like the ocean, encountering the same men who accosted her before. Engin also visits these places. Interestingly, both are revisiting dream locations separately. Meanwhile, Belen seeks the help of a relationship counselor, and is taken aback when she witnesses Engin attempting to apologize to Eda. Assuming a romantic involvement between Engin and Eda, Belen gives up and feels sad, realizing that the experiences she shared with Engin and her dream have come to an end. However, as Engin sees Belen walking away, he calls out her name. Belen turns back, noticing Engin getting soaked in the rain, and calls for him, realizing that they both shared the same dream. While crossing the road to reach Belen, Engin is struck by a car. Belen rushes to his side and pledges not to give up on him, even as he is taken away in an ambulance. Despite the accident, Engin entrusts Belen with his mother's necklace, expressing his desire for the events of his dream to remain unchanged. Belen, in turn, vows to turn everything that happened in the dream into reality. Months later, we witness Engin and Belen's wedding, revealing that Belen saved Engin's life and stood by him during his illness. They continued to find happiness together, and several years later, the dream finally materialized when Belen gave birth to the same child she had seen in the dream.